Hi everyone, welcome to Real Talk Mental Health. On this channel, we discuss mental health issues from the provider's perspective, giving you information that you can help navigate your journey. ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, which impacts approximately 11% of children and almost 5% of adults in the United States. ADHD is a neurological disorder that negatively impacts a part of our brain that helps us plan, focus on, and execute tasks. Everybody on the planet has difficulty concentrating sometimes. That's not ADHD. The person with ADHD finds that no matter how hard they try, symptoms persistently disrupt daily quality of life and function. We know ADHD is real. There's no argument about this anymore. We can see ADHD mapped out on functional MRI scans. Specifically, there's structural and functional changes in the frontal lobe of the brain that appear different when compared to people without ADHD. People with ADHD have excessive difficulty with poor impulse control, difficulty focusing attention and organizing, and ADHD symptoms can sometimes manifest differently in girls, which may account for symptoms being missed at an early age. Let's discuss the symptoms, the causes, the types, and the tests associated with ADHD. The term attention deficit can be misleading. Attention deregulation might be a more accurate description, since people with ADHD have more than enough attention. They can't harness it in the right direction or at the right time with the right consistency. So in fact, many individuals with ADHD are known to hyperfocus or lose track of time, especially when engaging in tasks that they enjoy, which can make them inattentive to everything going on around them. At other times, they may temporarily misplace keys or blurt out unrelated thoughts when the focus breaks from its chains. ADHD symptoms vary depending on the individual. So as providers, we tend to categorize the symptoms into three subtypes: inattentive, hyperactive, or a combined presentation. You and or your child may experience all or just some of the symptoms listed in the DSM-5. ADHD symptoms can include inattention, lack of focus, poor time management, excessive difficulty with impulse control, exaggerated emotions, hyperfocus and hyperactivity, and difficulty with executive function. A diagnosis of ADHD is made when a child shows at least 6 of these symptoms in at least 2 or more settings, like at home and at school. These symptoms must interfere with the child's daily functioning and development, with at least some of the symptoms being present prior to the age of 12. Most children with ADHD are diagnosed in elementary school, but sometimes the symptoms don't get caught until middle school or high school when academic demands are greater. People with primarily hyperactive and impulsive ADHD act as if they're driven by a motor, with little impulse control, moving, squirming, and talking excessively at inappropriate times. They're impulsive, impatient, and interrupt others. People with the inattentive subtype of ADHD, which we used to call ADD, have difficulty focusing, finishing tasks, and following instructions. They're easily distracted and forgetful. They may be daydreamers who lose track of homework, cell phones, and conversations. Experts believe that many children, especially girls with inattentive subtype, may go undiagnosed because they don't tend to disrupt the learning environment. Individuals with combined type display a mixture of all the symptoms we just discussed. Researchers have determined that people often move from one subtype to another. For example, a child may present primarily as hyperactive and impulsive in preschool, but then lose some of that hyperarousal in adolescence and then fit the combined presentation subtype. In college and adulthood, the same individual may then transition into the inattentive presentation. When these subtypes were first identified, it was based on obvious behavioral symptoms, and symptoms like emotional dysregulation, cognitive patterns, and sleep difficulties were ignored. Non-behavioral characteristics are increasingly recognized in research and when diagnosing. So what causes ADHD? The causes of ADHD remain somewhat unclear. Research suggests that genetics and heredity play a part. Scientists are still investigating whether or not certain genes, especially ones like the neurotransmitter dopamine, play a defined role in developing ADHD. Some research suggests that exposure to certain chemicals during pregnancy may also increase risk of ADHD. An estimated 85% of children with ADHD go on to show symptoms as adults, even though only 5% of adults are actually diagnosed. Unfortunately, there's a lot of misinformation in the community about ADHD treatment. Many people, even providers, wrongly believe that ADHD medications are overprescribed. But in reality, only 10.9% of adults with ADHD actually receive treatment. Adult ADHD seldom exists alone. We know that when symptoms of ADHD are left untreated, around 60% will show signs of having comorbid disorders like anxiety or depression. When left untreated, ADHD can place unnecessary stress on personal relationships and impair progress in school and work. Once ADHD symptoms are identified and managed, the comorbid symptoms of anxiety and depression become easier to treat or sometimes resolve on their own. If you're in the Portland, Oregon or Vancouver, Washington area, feel free to reach out to us for a thorough examination. If you're not in our area, be sure to reach out to your medical provider to receive a diagnosis and treatment. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out our other videos, and until next time, I'll see you later.